automatically you are already disadvantaged even before the competition gets started already, because you have already minus yourself from some sporting units out there which you are not going to take part in it. So this is where the Egyptian, get the chunk of their medals are there, and for you trying to catch up where you are already at a disadvantage even before heading to such competition, it becomes very, very hard. Again, the policymakers, people that is in the helm of authority out there, are they actually working for the interest, for the benefit of the game to which they have been positioned as the federation, or as the president of any federation? Are they actually working tirelessly behind the scene to achieve the main goal and purpose of such a federation? These are the questions that we need to ask ourselves. If these men are genuinely concerned and seriously working towards achieving the main goal of such a federation, then we must see results. But most time when they get there, it just looks as though it's their own part. I mean, it's their own time for them to go and cut their own national cake. So they get there, when money comes in, instead of investing it to develop the sport, they just pocket it and find one excuses or the other. So for me, I think there's a lot we need to learn from the Egyptians if we must improve and bridge the gap between the Egyptians and Nigeria, because every year we keep playing the second fiddle, trying to play the catch-up game against the Egyptians. And it has not come to be. Even the area we think we have the comparative advantage. How many gold medals? In football, you can only boast of 2 gold medals in football. But in games like wrestling, you can amass about 14 to 18 medals. In weightlifting, you have about 14 to 18 medals as well. In boxing, you have about 14 to 16 medals to take part. In football, you just have only 2 medals, which is gold, both in the male and the female category, which the Ghanaian took home. So for me, I think there's a lot we need to do in the area of management, in the area of appointing the right people at the helm of affairs, in the area of deliberate and a conscious plan towards developing sport generally, and not just narrowing it down to one particular area we feel is our own area of comparative advantage. I talked about swimming earlier. I said we have state here that is blessed, that is a waterine region state like Akwa Ibom, Cross River, River State, Bayelsa. These are states which will actually produce good divers, good swimmers that can go and represent the countries on the highest level and do us proud. But then, have we actually explored this area of our comparative advantage? Of course, no. But the South Africans, they are doing pretty well, in the area of swimming. So can we take a deliberate and a conscious plan toward developing swimming? Now, we talked about, calling the other day. Of course, it's not our area of comparative advantage, but can we get something out of that angle? Of course, yes, if we do. If we take the action that we want to make this thing a mainstay in our sport, we can do it. But then we have people who feel they don't care about it. Of course, let the money just come, they sit down there and split it the way they want it, and, call some few folks and others. So it's a lot we need to do if we must, catch up with the Egyptian. And for me, it's not going to be issue of 1 year or 2 years. There's need for, a proper planning. Call it 4 years planning or minimum of 8 years planning before we can get there. It's not about fire brigade approach, because the Egyptians we're talking about today, they didn't just wake up from their slumber and start doing great things in the areas of sport out there. They actually, had a deliberate and a conscious plan mapped out for several years towards ensuring that they achieve the heights to which, they are enjoying today. So for me, I think it needs time. We need the right people at the right helm of affairs. We need that patriotism of getting things right. We need to change a lot of things in our thinking, in our administrative as well, so we can be able to get there. If not, without that, we'll continue to play the second fiddle against the Egyptians.
Of course, I mean, we've been talking tough about the Commonwealth Games and how to ensure that Nigeria, strive hard to get to the top place it should be. Well, let's move away from that and let's talk some taekwondo. As Commonwealth gold medalist Josephine Esuku has confirmed she plans to retire from taekwondo after the just concluded African Games in Ghana. Esuku won silver in the U40 Pomse event and bronze plus 70 women's freestyle event that just concluded African Games. The former African champion told newsmen that she will continue to make Nigeria proud if called upon by the Taekwondo Federation. I'm wondering if she's that age, for such decision, or maybe something would have prompted it anyway.
Yeah, of course, you know that she's nursing a baby of 6 months old, and for me, I think you need to give kudos to her. A nursing mother, leaving her baby to come and take part in such a big game just to make sure you represent your country, I think is a massive one. A very great effort she put in out there. Josephine, she has been one of our best hands, dominated the scene of Africa, making sure that she took us to the map out there. She went beyond the African shore to also, win a gold medal in the Commonwealth game out there. It was very massive. I think for me, she needs every support at this point in time. But the question is, as she's planning to retire, have we actually discovered other Josephine Esuka that will be able to take her place? This is the question we keep asking. And if there is no intention, there is no deliberate plan toward, producing a successor that is going to take her place, then it means that if she throws in the towel or if she retires at this point in time, then we are lagging in that area because over the years we haven't been able to, work in order to produce a replica of this Josephine Esuka that we are talking about. But in all, she has also paid her dues, did the country proud, both in Africa and the world as well. So for me, I think it's time for us to also support her and also to produce another Josephine Esuka that can also take her place.
Produce another Josephine Esuka that will take her place, and of course that's what we crave for. Let's see how far. Why President of the Handball Federation of Nigeria, Samuel Ocheho, has promised to build on the country's success at the recently concluded African Games in Ghana. Now, the reason why I'm laughing is when you hear that everybody wants to build on, I ask myself, it's talk is cheap, as they say, but can we get it right? A lot of building on, and I'm happy with the impression that they have, but I don't know. I'm just thinking that we hope that we can elevate ourselves from where we are now. The next game is 2025, isn't it? So we just have 1 year now. Could that be the reason why they're even talking about building on? So maybe they will, because this is just 1 year to the time. Maybe they can change the narrative.
For me, I think all these statement of building, these are just statements of, political road-mounted, because many times you see them coming to the media to make some of these big statements out there without backing it up with a requisite, action to actually get there. After the total appraisal of the All-African game for Nigerian, contingent out there, of course, it's good to start preparation in NS. It's good to start building, but then are we actually serious about the building issue, or do we just come to the media to also, give the nation hope that we are indeed building, while behind the scene nothing is being done to ensure that we have a better performance from what we saw this year? Because if you are actually building, then it will definitely tell us on the next outing how far can we be able to go. This year we got about 47 gold medals. Last time out is about 46 gold medals. 1 gold medal added. That means there is a little improvement, but come the next edition, can we actually go beyond 47 gold medals, possibly 80 or 90 gold medals? That is the only thing that we actually signify that indeed we are actually building, not just building with our mouths. At the end of it all, the building collapse because there is no deliberate plan towards following up all this action with the talking. So for me, I think just like the sport minister said as well, he was also talking very tough, saying that they are going to start preparation in NS, after this All-African game. In the next edition, 2027, it's just by the corner. Of course, we want to get it right, we must start building, and not just building for the talking sake, but building in the actual sense of it by going back to the grassroots, try to carve out programs that can be able to accommodate all of our sporting men and women in different categories to ensure that they pass through the ranks before they get to the top. That is the proper essence of building. Go back to the grassroots, follow the trend, build from the scratch, let them pass through the cadre from one angle to the other, and that is how they keep progressing. And if we don't keep a close tap on this, enormous talent that we have here, by nurturing them to pass through one cadre to the other, then we can't get it right. If we just wait and say we are building while doing nothing, at the end of it all, you discover that it is that 1 week, 1 month before the start of the next edition. That is where we begin to, rally around to be able to assemble sportsmen and women in different categories that is going to do us proud. And we say we are building, whereas
but then,
building nothing.
but like, I agree with you. I also think that something worked for Nigeria. Like, talked about Igali, the policy of Igali, and what the Wrestling Federation did. Because, I mean, there cannot be any meaningful success without proper planning. So don't you think that Nigeria also got it right in some aspect of planning for this year's edition? Because unlike Commonwealth Games last year, where we saw the way they haphazard planning, yes, we went there to anti-dominated, was that something different from the Commonwealth Games at the Olympic and what we saw this year at the African Games?
The only difference is that the Wrestling Federation were able to build, not just with their mouth, they were able to build deliberately and backed up with action, coming from a man who truly understands the meaning of building in sport, which is Daniel Igali.
But not just them alone now. We also with the Federation, ranked medals, athletics, ranked medals, and so one is tempting to say that that's something that the sports ministry have done. Yeah. That maybe my work, maybe the policy of John Owan Eno in terms of bringing to bear some of these things, because he set up a committee that I know for sure who moved around and ensure that those. So I think it worked for him for whatever reasons. It worked.
Well, you can't actually take the kudos away from John Owaneno, the sport minister, for what he has done since he came on board, since he came into office. I think he has done a lot by making sure he go around, the states, around the country to ensure that there's a proper development of sport generally from what we used to see in the past. I mean, this time around when he came in, he charged all different federation president to also be up and doing in their own area of sporting, activity, which they have been given charge to see over. And I think for me, that charge and that action from John Wanino has actually, awakened some presidents out there, or some, federation to start working toward achieving a positive result. Of course, you talked about, the Wrestling Federation, weightlifting, athletes. These are all areas of our comparative advantage, and that is where they focus. Have we actually talked about other areas of sport? We had some other sport as well. Even the handball, they are also crying that they should be considered for the monetary, reward after taking part in the All-African game. Why? Because prior to, the game, the sport ministry said they don't have money, to sponsor them. But it took the intervention of the federation itself to be able to rally around and sponsor this team down there to, to Ghana. And does that tell you that indeed there was a proper planning? Of course, no, there was no proper planning. So also other federations as well who could not do pretty well. We talked about the handball, talk about even basketball as well, swimming. Were there proper planning? Were there proper, camping? Of course not. If not, we would have seen a positive result out there. So for me, in as much as John Owaneno has done a lot since he came on board, but then have he actually touched all angles of sport in making sure that they align the sport, federation president align their thought and action with that of John Owaneno? Of course, no. John Owaneno can't do it alone. He needs the help of the different, federation president as well to work in tandem with the agenda and the plan and dream and aspiration of John Owaneno to actually achieve all of this, because him alone, he can't do it. He needs the help and support of this different, president of, different sporting units out there to actually get the result that he needs out there, which some of the presidents are not doing to ensure that we get to the point where we can say, yes, Nigeria is now El Dorado of sports.
And that's not El Dorado of sport, but away from that now, let's talk tennis. And Andy Murray is out for an extended period with injury, and he says he will be out after he sustained that injury at the Miami Open. The 36-year-old Briton received treatment following the incident late in the third set of his dramatic 5-7, 7-5, 7-6 defeat by Thomas Makak on Sunday. He confirmed he suffered a full rupture of his anterior talar fibula ligament and the near full thickness rupture. You know, this is a very serious one. When it has to do with anterior ligament, you have to, it takes a whole lot of time to heal, and Andy Murray will be missed in the action, and I don't know what you make of that.
It's a big setback for Andy Murray. He has actually struggled since he came back from injury. Of course, you saw him in the last game where he actually pulled out. He had to call the intervention of doctors over some period of time to check on him, even before he had to, leave the court for that very last game. They clearly tells you that all is not well with Andy Murray, and for me, it has been a worry. And age as well has not been very, telling on him. And I mean, rather, age is telling on him, coupled with the incessant injuries here and there every time. I think he has actually punctuated his hope and dream of, bouncing back in the way and manner which he would have expected. But then for me, I think in all, it's a big disappointment for, Andy Murray. Let's hope that he goes back and check on himself and properly treat some of this injury and, bounce back stronger and become the Andy Murray that tennis fans all over the world has adored over the years.
Tennis fans all over the world has adored over the years, and I think it's very necessary that I will get this one done and dusted. But let's look at some of the results from games played, at the ongoing Miami Open, and it's a lot has happened. Casper Ruud defeated Alejandro Davidovich Fokina in a thrilling 6-3, 6-4 victory there. We also saw some game. Ugo Humbert lost to Dominic Kofa in a very tricky encounter. 3-setter there, 6-3, 4-6, and 3-6 in favor of Dominic Kofa. Cameron Norrie also lost to Daniil Medvedev 5-7, 1-5. It ended. Fabian Alexis Popperin lost to Fabian Morozan 5-6, 6-3. We also saw some lovely encounter there. Alexander Zverev went through to the next round against Christopher Eubank, and a lot more to talk about. But let's move now to the female scene, where we saw SD Iga Swiatek lost to Linda Noskova. And this is okay. Iga Swiatek defeated for the big guys. Akara looked like he's going to go all the way to maybe the later stage of this competition, because the way he's going, except for maybe Jannik Sinner or some of the big guys, stop him. Medvedev is another player you expect to go all out, maybe to get to the finals of this particular one. But then early days to call, nobody would have believed that Iga Swiatek would have been ousted out from the fourth round.
Yeah, I think in the ATP there are a lot of big names still left in the competition, the likes of Daniil Medvedev, Carlos Alcaraz, Jannik Sinner. These are big names that are still left in the competition, so I expect it to be a very tough one. But then I expect these three players to progress through in the next round in the game today, because they've actually shown reliability. They've actually shown consistency in this tournament so far. So I expect these three of them to actually progress through to the next round. But then you can never tell. This is a game of sports. It can go either way. But then looking at their form so far since the start of this competition, you definitely give it to them.
Give it to them, and let's go on a quick break now. When we come back, we will, of course, talk football matters here. It's still Sports Talk on Atlantic Television Network.
Telling him not to counterpunch.
from the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring on sport news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today, only on ATN.
People into the country illegally. That is amazing.
Honorable
You human
on the point of order.
Honorable
Telling him not to counterpunch.
All right, welcome back. It's the last lap of the show, and let's look at some of the happenings. And we'll start with the Nigeria Premier Football League and football matters here. Nigeria Tornadoes puts an end to Shooting Stars' 6-game unbeaten run, handing the Oluyole Warriors a 2-1 defeat at the Ahmadu Bello Stadium in Kaduna yesterday night. It was a spectacle to behold, getting to see these two clubs, but finally the unbeaten run, has come to an end.
Yeah, great one for Nigeria. They've been battling for relegation this season. I think because of that 3 points away, it has also pushed them away from the relegation line out there. And of course, but then for Shooting Stars, the Oluyole Warriors boys, as they are fondly called, they still maintain their 8th position on the log. We will say that it's a very good game because the Shooting Stars actually find the back of the net first, but it has to take the resilience of the players of Niger Tornado to be able to come back into that game. They had to score the equalizer in the 70-something minutes, and at the nick of time, they got the winning goal, which actually gave them all 3 points. It was a very, very good result for them. Looking at where they find themselves on the table, I think courtesy of that victory, they are a bit away from the relegation line right now.
Bit away from the relegation zone, and the NFF has suspended some referees. The Refereeing Development Committee of Nigerian Football Federation has suspended center referee Abdul Malik from officiating in the Nigeria Premier Football League. Malik incurred the wrath of the committee following his poor handling of the Nigeria Premier Football League match, the 27 encounter between Katsina United and Abia Warriors. The referee cancelled the legitimate goal scored by Abia Warriors Samson Obi in the game. Abia Warriors eventually lost the game 2-1 at the Mohammed Diko Stadium, and this is it. Laws cannot be retrieved, but when things like this happen, it gives us the courage that any referee who misbehave, there is a tendency of facing the wrath from the committee.
Yeah, I think it's a great move by the NPFL board out there to ensure that they put some of these referees on check to also maintain the standard and the quality of the league out there, because it's become a sham and a shame where you are watching an NPFL league and the cost of referees poor officiating actually cost a team 3 points out there. And you know how difficult it is for you to go and get 3 points, whether in home or away. While some teams truly deserve all 3 points, but cost of the errors of poor officiating, rather from referees, they get to lose all 3 points. I think that could be very, very disappointing sometimes. So this wild hammer goes against any referee, for not being professional, not sticking to the rules that governs the game. I think for me, it's a good one. Good to note because, over the years, Nigerian referees find it difficult to get a nod from CAF or FIFA in any of these organized competition. You see that CAF organized competition or FIFA because, they are regarded as not fit or not good enough to officiate some of those games, going by the antecedents over the years. And for me, I think we need to change that narrative, and of course in the Refereeing Association of Nigeria, they are actually putting their nose on the ground to ensure that they fish out some of these miscreants, people who want to bring disrepute to the beautiful round leader game in the league so as to punish them. I think this would also serve as a deterrent to other referees as well. This season alone, we've seen about 14 to 15 refs being punished for one offenses or the other. I think this will caution some other referee who intend of towing that same line to also retrieve, because I think they are going to bring to question or disrepute to the quality of our league out there.
Of course, and then away from that, the Super Falcons ahead of their tie against South Africa. He has caught up, the Randy Waldron has caught up 22 players, including Nigeria Women's Player of the Year, Asata Shola, Africa's Women's Goalkeeper of the Year, Chiamaka Nadozie, and Captain Rashidat Ajibade for the Olympic qualification. This seems to be the two-legged encounter for me. Is like a do or die affair, because I mean we cannot afford to miss out from this year's Olympic.
Yes, of course. For me, I think it's a make or a break game, a make or a mark game. Of course, looking at the squad that have been unveiled by Coach Randy Waldron, it's a killer squad, which I think most of the players are players that took part in the just last Women World Cup out there. Of course, I saw some inclusion of 2 or 3 home-based players out there. Player from Robo Queens, Bayelsa Queen also made the list. I think for me, it's very massive, and I hope that they are going to go out there and get us the ticket. But coming up against a very strong South African side, it's not going to be an easy one. But then I expect the Super Falcons to go through. But then, having not attended the Olympic for about how many years right now, since the last time we attended the Olympic dated back in 2008, and that is far back. For a footballing country, a footballing nation such as Nigeria, not making it to the Olympic for how many years now, I think it's quite disappointing, to say the least. But then this is another golden opportunity for Randy Waldron and the Super Falcons to also cement their place in the Olympic by making sure they clinch the ticket against a very resilient and a very strong opponent such as South Africa, who boasts of a lot of good players as well, the likes of Gatlana and Bacha, to name but a few. These are great players, and their coach as well has been talking tough, since the last African Cup of Nations out there, preparing so hard to ensure that they get the better of the Super Falcons. But for me, I think the squad that have been released by Randy Waldron, I think I'm okay with that, because these are players who also have been in the national team. They understand the philosophy, they know the task that is ahead, and of course, most of these players who haven't been at the Olympic want to also have a feel of what the Olympic is all about, and by so doing, they are going to ensure that they clinch us the tickets.
Of course, we hope that with the players, Tochiko, some of the players invited, Linda, Juo Ake of Bayelsa Queens have also been invited, and I love the fact that Randy Waldron has clearly, when it comes to the female side, clearly debunked the issue of foreign away. Even if we have more of the foreigners, I mean, Nigeria have never always, we have never craved for not getting the foreign-based athlete, because we know that they are good enough. Yeah. But the thing is, at least get few at every invitation, get the local ones, and because they are female and they can do a whole lot. That's something we are craving for in the Super Eagles of Nigeria.
Of course, that is what we are craving for in the Super Eagles of Nigeria. We saw a great defender, who is a product of the NPFL a few days ago against Ghana. Did us proud because he holds his own very high. Talking about Tanimu, who also played a game the friendly game against Ghana. I think he gave a good account of himself out there. He's a product of the NPFL. I think for me, we need to start looking within and feature some of this talent. Not that we don't have them, but it's just that over the years, some coaches feel that they don't want to take that risk, because to them they think it's a risk of carrying some of these locally based players or athletes along, because they felt that because of the fact that they are not based in abroad, then therefore they are not good enough. But for me, I think that should not be the yardstick or basis for judging some of these individual talents out there, because they are very, very good on their own. Give them the same platform like you give others that reside in abroad, they would definitely deliver. So for me, I think it's a good one that Coach Randy Waldron is willing to look inward as well, to also integrate the locally based players out there in the national team.
Integrate some of the locally based players in the national team, and of course, let's move now to other top stories in football. And of course, we can tell you that the Super Eagles are all preparing for today's encounter against the Eagles of Mali.
Yeah, a massive one. I think for me, Finidi George want to also continue in the fine form, impress Nigerians looking at what he did in the game against Ghana, where he was able to break 18 years old jinx against the Ghanaians, where we've not been able to defeat them over the years. So the issue of the Jollof Derby and the battle for supremacy between Nigeria and Ghana continue to rage on, but then I think Finidi George was able to break that jinx last time when we met in the friendly games, when we actually defeated them 2-1. So I think he want to continue in that line of good performance in the against Malians today by making sure he gets the needed win. So also to put himself in a pole position for contending for the Super Eagles job, because we hear that some names have been mooted or shortlisted for the Super Eagles job, which as at yesterday we also hear a story that the technical committee of the NFF is divided into two. Some persons are clamoring for a foreign coach, while some are going for local coach. So if Finidi George get to perform creditably well in these two friendly, possibly, maybe, who knows, he might get the nod for the Super Eagles job. So I expect him to do well in today's game against Mali.
Well, we'll see. We're going to see how that pans out. There are a lot of stories in club football, but it looks like Victor Osimhen is on the news again. And for Victor Osimhen, I mean, as the season gets to a climax, the certainty of him not, finding a way to leave the club, it looks very clear now with the fact that he has been ranked as the 16th highest paid footballer in Europe. So this will even prepare him, because the moment he moves from Napoli to a bigger club with the buyout clause, it looks like he might even go bigger than the likes of Kylian Mbappe, who is of course the best paid player, with a watering sum of 5.15 million euros on weekly basis is huge, and to get to see Nigeria in that list is exciting.
It's exciting, but then Victor Osimhen just need to be very, very careful about his decision. Though he said it over the past few months that since growing up, he has been the one that has been taking a decision about his professional career, and it has worked out well for him. Let's hope that he continues to make that good decision. So for me, being one of the highest paid players right now, seated on the 16th position, I think it's a massive one for a Nigerian player and Africa for that matter, because most time I think the Europeans, they don't tend to pay much value or much respect to African players despite their hard efforts. So far we've seen the likes of George Oponwuye in time past, Samuel Eto'o, Patrick Mboma, Nwankwo Kanu, JJ Okocha, Alhaji Diouf, to mention but a few African greats over the years, but then most times they fail to get the recognition they truly deserve. But this time I think Victor Osimhen is putting Nigeria on the map in terms of big money move out, and also in terms of performance. Also his quality, what he did for Napoli last season, propelling them to winning the Scudetto after 33 years of hunting without getting that. So for me, I think it's a massive one for Victor Osimhen, massive one for Nigerian football, because it's actually putting us on the map. But then we also hear some rumor that Chelsea is also going after him, closely pursuing him. But then, like I said earlier, you need to be very, very cautious about the club that he's heading to right now, so that to ensure he continue to get the fame and the attention that he truly deserves in the world of football.
And lastly on the show this morning, former Brazilian international Dani Alves, convicted of rape in Spain, has paid his bail of 1 million euros and can leave jail pending his appeal, a court said on Monday. This is better. I mean, he can serve his jail sentence at home. After all, he has been, the lawyer, the attorney claimed that he has been, in jail for a very long time. So I think that's part of the reason why they've been granted that bail. But it's very expensive, and that looks so that it doesn't matter. But the bail has been granted finally.
Oh yeah, the bail has been granted, and that is what it means when you have good friends, around you. Jolly good fellow in terms of need and in terms of lack as well. So the likes of Dipe we hear, and then Neymar father as well were very, very instrumental into coughing out such a big amount of money to also, bail him out. I think it's a great one, and that is why I say it's very good to always stick with friends, that really matters and that really cares for you. They came to his aid and provided the financial muscle to be able to set him free, but then free, but not free indeed, because he'll be coming to the court right from his home, other than being, caged down in a certain place. So I think that makes the difference.
That makes the difference, and if you ask me, I think that he's a big celebrity. He's one that is, regardless of the challenges he has always been a role model. One player who almost have won everything. I think has he won?
The highest decorated, most decorated players.
So, you see for the player.
Yeah, but courtesy of this, issue, Barcelona have actually enlisted him from their, gallery of players who have won awards. So he get to lose that one, but then he still remains the most decorated footballer in the planet Earth.
Very unfortunate there for him. Daniel Alves, always a fine player. I remember when he get to say his playing days, it was very phenomenal at the right back, doing all the needful and the magical display there. One of the most brilliant player you can ever think of in the colors of the Brazilian jersey, and lovely, but unfortunately that's life. Many thanks for you, Michael, for being part of the conversation today.
It's always a pleasure doing this with you.
And I'll be back later this evening where we'll take a look at the Nigerian game, as well as other trending stories in football. Don't forget to join us 6 p.m. is the time. I'll be back here to look further and talk more about the Super Eagles of Nigeria, as well as the Super Falcons, and maybe preparation for what next for some of these teams. Don't change the dial. It's still Atlantic Television Network. Ekpo Temple is my name, and I'm saying have a lovely day. Bye-bye.
Telling him not to counterpunch.
From the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring all sport news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today. Only on ATN.
People into the country illegally. That is amazing.
Honorables,
You